Just start recording.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then hopefully we'll sign all the other ones
Yeah.
too. So these are the
But
ones.
these were all the ones that.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
It's just with switching over.
Oh, I know. Where did he go?
He took a job closer to where his family was.
Is he an assistant principal there?
No, he works for.
Help me out if I get stuck.
For business. He works on the rest.
Right.
It's kind of like. It's nice for him.
I don't have it.
He gets paid. His little.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
So.
Yeah, we
I had. It's okay to do that. How long do you do both? Different than probably when you're.
Yeah. Yes. I'm not. Are you going to? No, you're good.
We'll have doing about something and I was like, wait, because to me, COVID was like. But she. One day I was or like, I know, I've heard and people. Excited. I'm happy about it. Yeah, I'll just do Hello.
Oh, hey.
Good, how are you? I think the first meeting of how are you?
Right here. Good to see you.
Come on. Yeah. Hey, I know.
Okay. Well, then we.
Yeah, I know. Are you excited though? Before we can have this chair.
Okay, I'm turning it over.
Okay, I better.
Right, if Pam finishes making the rounds. So fun to see everybody and be back here at SCC. I'm sorry we're starting just a minute late, but thank you for coming. For those who, just to help make it clear, this meeting is operating under the previous SCC memberships. And so what we'll do is we'll do the elections at the end. And so anybody who was elected last year is automatically has a second year of their term, unless you choose to resign or you don't want to take it. But anybody who was elected for their first year last year does not have to technically run or vote again. Those who were in their second year, which would include myself, and if you're not sure, look at the list that is going around. That will let you know where you're at. Then we'll do the elections for that. But according to what we had discussed in our last meeting last year, and this is mostly for those who are not members of the SCC that are joining us, we want you to feel welcome. We have a clipboard. If there's anyone who's not an SCC member or has not been invited to be a part of the agenda, if they would like to speak, that they sign on that clipboard, and we will do a public comment section at the beginning of the meeting. After that, the discussion is just for those who are voting members unless the rules are suspended. So we're happy to keep that flexible, but we would need to do that as a formal vote. So without further ado, I should introduce myself for those who don't know, and we've got the Zoom going and it is being recorded. My name is Kristen McDonald. I am the SCC chair for the next maybe 45 minutes or so. And we'll go ahead and just get started and see if Mary Catherine, do you have the clipboard? Is anybody?
I'm right here. Here. Yeah, I'm gonna pass this. This is where people are signing up to speak.
Is there anybody? Please just raise your hand. Are you?
Well, isn't this what this is for? This is not attendance. This is
No.
something to say.
This is for something. So we'll make sure that the attendance.
Someone might take their name off.
Seeing it, that's mostly there so that if we have like 100 people, which we've had before, there's a system, but we don't have 100 people. Is there anybody that does want to address the SCC that's here? Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and move forward then to approval of the minutes from May 8th. Those were sent out by email. So do I have a motion either to approve or amendments?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, and do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes from May 8th? Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Great. We want to extend a heartfelt gratitude for all of the work that goes into preparing those minutes. So thank you so much. That's so helpful. Okay, we have our fundraiser requests, which were sent out by email. I'll entertain a motion to either approve them all or one at a time, or if anyone's got, maybe what I'll do is I'll say, are there any motions for anything besides approving the fundraiser request as a group? And if there is, please speak up, but just for efficiency's sake, with the history of this body, I'll entertain any motions to approve.
I move that we approve all of the fundraising proposals as a group.
Okay, second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Well, look, we're halfway down the page already. Like, it's great. All right, we'll go ahead and start just we're just gonna get an update. Is that the best, Elizabeth? I'll maybe hand this over to you.
Oh,
and
please don't.
Sam. Well, no, I mean,
Don't give her the mic.
we've been working through the summer, well, all through the year, as this came up about cell phone policy, and I sent out the latest draft, which was included in everybody's registration documents when you registered your student. It was included there for parents to be able to review and look at, and that draft is what I had emailed to the SCC. And I'll probably let maybe Pam address where we're at on that. rather than try to reiterate what she just said, so do you want me to?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Tonight is relative, 20 to 5, it's kind of tonight. And I'm so grateful. I just need to tell you in advance that we are gonna have a great year. And you all and this body and this group makes it a great year. The work that you do and the service you give is second to none. So thank you in advance, because we're gonna be doing a lot together. Okay, phone policy. We have talked about the phone policy, the SCC phone policy three times in SIC meeting, which is the board of people in our school who need to pass things that then get voted on by the faculty. And it's a really serious role that those members take, and they're not flippant about it, and they work really hard. We meet all the time, and we try to balance the needs of a huge over 2,000 person school in our school every day. And that doesn't even include the 5,000, 6,000 members of the community. So kind of where we are now is, and I really like the updated thing that we did in June. I think that was really fabulous. It came a lot closer for a lot of things. But one of the comments now that's come up in SIC a couple times is, well, this is almost exactly the board policy. Which, and we know the board policies, we've been looking at them for a long time. And as soon as cell phones started becoming a thing, we really dug into that policy. And so we kind of know it. So a lot of the members of SIC just said, well, if this is really similar to our own board policy that's already like our law, maybe we should consider looking at that again and making some adjustments to how we obey our own law in our building, because it's already there. The difference, the only difference, and it seems really small, I think, if you're not a teacher, but the difference of teachers shall not versus teachers are encouraged to is like a mountain. There's a cavern of difference between those two statements for teachers. And a couple of our SIC members who are incredibly thoughtful and rule following, each brought up examples of specific things that they had done even that day, where a cell phone could have been helpful to a student, not that it was required. And I know that Kristen and I have talked about this a lot. Now that we are one-to-one and every student has a computer, unless some weird thing like their parents say they don't want their kid to have a computer, which happens. What we were hoping all last year when we were trying to make a cell phone policy is that when students have computers, a lot of what a teacher would need them to do, like in an online setting, will now be able to be done on a school laptop, which have the filtering, which have the capabilities of keeping kids in the right place and not doing things they shouldn't, which cell phones, as you know, do not have, unless you really work hard to make it that your student has restrictions or whatever. So I guess we have in SIC, sorry, I'm really rambling here. I have a fuzzy, tired head today. The bottom line is we have made a committee in SIC, like a subcommittee of SIC to look at the phone policy and to look at our own board policy. And I think something that we are going to recommend to our faculty is that we follow the board policy, which is very similar to what we came up with after taking everything from the other districts and everything. So that's the update. We have the committee, we're looking at it, and I think we're going to try to up how we look at our own policy. Sorry, do you have any questions about that? Do your kids have computers? Raise your hand if your kid has a laptop. They need to bring it every day, right? Charged. The teachers are like, by the end of the day, the computers are almost dead. They're dead. They've been used all day. They're using them in every class. It really is an amazing thing to have a one-on-one situation now. So anyway, I think that'll help with some of the issues with phones anyway.
So can we, is there a plan with that SIC committee to have either parent coordination or some members of the SCC on there so that it's a
That isn't,
collaborative effort?
that isn't what really usually happens with SIC. It is a school only. You have to be a school employee to be an SIC and you have to be elected. It's an elected out of the faculty.
I guess
but-
I mean maybe as like a subcommittee task force or something.
Elena is our SIC chair and she is here and I will give her the mic and she can tell a little bit more. Because she is the chair. She knows
I think my teacher's voice, I know.
I need a mic. Right.
We can hear you, but the mic is helpful for the Zoom.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
The goal for our subcommittee is to look at the proposal and figure out a compromise that will work with the language that is proposed in the electronic device policy, and then something that the teachers can actually work with. So absolutely, we will share this with parents. We will not accept any policy without consulting the parents. So before any policy goes into effect, this body will have a chance to look at this, vote on it, and then we will accept it as a school. So absolutely, parents will have input. What we're looking at is things like, because we do have a problem with things like teachers are not to request or encourage students to use personal electronic devices in class. So we're looking at situations when a laptop has died, all instructional materials are online. So what are the options for the student? To sit there and not participate, or to take out their cell phone and maybe use or gain access to the textbook or the other electronic materials that are available. So we need to find a compromise. Also, we do have quite large MLL population. We do have lots of newcomers. The only way for us to communicate with them is through translation. These on the phone, yes, because they're more familiar with their phones than they are with computer software. So it's a lot easier for them to type something on the cell phone, bring it to the teacher, and it could be something simple as may use the restroom, something like that. But we do need to look at all different subpopulations of students that we have and take this into account. So this is the role of this subcommittee.
Thank you. Well, she's smart. She's a math teacher. Is that good?
So will you take into account like the cell phone policy that was submitted to, or is it just the board policy that?
There's only a few, kind of a few differences between the board policy that's already policy and the one we worked on last year. There's only a few differences. The main parts of it are very similar or exact, which was on purpose.
Yeah, the board policy is available online, and I'd be happy to email that out, because sometimes it's hard to dig it out and find it. Pam expressed what the major difference was, which is that we were wanting to say, as a school, we don't want to be even encouraging cell phones in the class, and that if a teacher wants to use technology, they should be using the school laptops that everybody has the same access to. And so I think that's, you know, what the discussion is how to work through some of those issues, which is why I think collaboration is great. I had thought through some of the concerns that you're talking about, and I think parents have concerns that maybe teachers aren't aware of, and so I appreciate that we can keep that discussion together as it moves forward. Did you have any thoughts, Elizabeth, as the subcommittee chair?
Well, I just, sorry, I ran out as you were talking, I'm sorry about that, but I just feel like my experience this year has been that cell phones are not the exception, they're the rule in so many classes. And that's what has been frustrating to me as a parent. My daughter who's a freshman who hasn't had access to the internet on her phone is being asked to access the internet on her phone regularly in at least 3 classes regularly. And I know these are great teachers and they're doing a great job, but as a parent, that's frustrating. The other question that I have is about equity. And if students are required to use a cell phone and they don't have a cell phone, where does that leave them? And so those are just a couple of the concerns that I have. I feel like what we're doing right now is making cell phones the rule and not the exception. And I would rather have them be the exception for the students who actually need them. Both of my kids who are here have computers, and that's been awesome, and it's been great, and they've worked on them at home, and they're bringing them to school every day, and I'm super excited about that, but I would like to see a little bit more of a school-wide policy, obviously, so.
And thank you for sharing those things, because that's what we need to take back to ethics.
Well, and I know that, I think you had a student who, like, you have a screenshot of the teacher's screen saying, you've got your phone, that's great, now, or your laptop, put your laptop away and now pull out your phone.
And do the QR code and.
Yeah, and so I think, we have a great opportunity for this to be working better this year if we actually have more laptops, and I think that, maybe it's gonna just take a shift now that we have that resource to move in that direction. And I do know that in terms of laptops dying, Cypress High School is very strict about this, like, that is your only option. And they just have backups in classrooms for situations, so I think there's some things we can work through together. Does anybody else have a comment about this before maybe it sounds like a good next step is to work together outside of this meeting?
Only if you let me speak, I'm a student, so.
Right.
We can, if we have a motion to suspend the rules.
I moved to suspend those rules to hear from the student.
And, as the Pam was talking, my phone was going off and I'm realizing it might have been our friends that needed to get in, and I was like, I'm not gonna be distracted. I'm so sorry, but it might be helpful to
Clearly
suspend the
need
rules.
cell phones.
Todd Henriot actually drafted the policy that came out of subcommittee, so if I have a motion, to suspend the rules. And a second, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, we'll suspend the rules for just a minute and maybe let our wonderful student and Con have just a couple minutes to share their thoughts.
Hi, so, my thoughts on the whole cell phone policy are, Pam stated that we're one-to-one in terms of laptops to students. From what I've been told and what I've understood, we're not exactly one-to-one. We have a really close number of laptops to students, but a lot of kids are bringing their own laptops from home. I know so many kids who have, MacBooks, Chromebooks, things that they're bringing from home just because it's easier and they work faster and all of that. But when you talk about it in terms of like, getting distracted on your phone, and all of the school computers obviously have all of these filters and things to block websites that aren't approved, all of this stuff. These kids who are bringing laptops from home don't have that, and it almost becomes an issue of like equity. You're affording the kids who can afford a MacBook from home this privilege to be distracted, to text their friend. You can text on a MacBook if it's hooked up to like your Apple phone. You can like send text messages from it. It's just becoming this new form of distraction that you're only affording to these kids who are obviously privileged enough to have their own devices. The other thing about that I was hearing said that it's problematic somehow that some teachers aren't having kids use their laptops or having them use their phones, but it's so much more convenient, especially with the school laptops, which I'm so glad we have them, but they take like 5 minutes to boot up. And if you like have an assignment you've done in class on paper that your teacher wants to submit a picture on Canvas, it takes like 2 seconds to pull up your phone and submit it. Whereas it's like a 10-minute process to get your computer booted up and take a picture with the little installed like camera on your computer. So I think a lot of it is convenience. And I think that cell phones, I don't know, are a tool that should be used in classrooms to an extent. And I don't think it's a problem that teachers are saying, oh, use Canvas to submit a picture, or oh, scan this QR code, because it's a lot more convenient for the students than like pulling out this, especially when it's just a small thing. Like if the teacher had a little quiz online that they just wanted us to do in the first like 5 minutes of class, why would you spend that 5 minutes booting up your laptop? It's a whole range of things, so.
There's this one.
Yeah, there's your microphone.
You're the student?
Yeah.
Well said. Nice. Well, what's that?
She's always well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
She's mine.
I think.
No, I know, Shannon,
I think she's right. And look, I think to engage in this, in our community and to, the phones have become a tool. And these kids have to learn how to use it. And if you take all the negative things about the phones that they do here at East, they may be outweighed by all the good things that this phone might be aiding. So, nice job. I think she's right.
It's, Pam, I know we talked about this at the PTA meeting, but it seems like there's some really great incentives that teachers can use in their class. That's, we're not mandating the teachers collect all the cell phones, but something that would incentivize the kids. Like, we have a charging station up here. If you want to have your phone charged, you can come up here and plug your phone in, and if you leave it the entire period, it'll be charged. It's just something maybe just as simple as that, which, I mean, I know that this has worked great at Clayton. The kids are older here and they, maybe are entitled to like a few more privileges and a few more opportunities to kind of navigate this phone usage. But maybe something, especially in the interim, while we're working this out, the SIC, if there's something in the interim we can do, that just allows the teacher some flexibility. Maybe they can use the phone, but you also have an incentive. And I'm not saying it has to even be points or anything related to your grade, but it's something as simple as charging, I know would have probably a pretty big appeal to a lot of kids. But
Tom, did you want to say anything since you're not allowed to talk the rest of the meeting?
I feel like I have so many things I want to talk about. I want to ask how the attendance policy is working out, and if the halls are cleaned up, and if the bathrooms have vaping in them, and if the teachers feel good about. I heard a lot about a lot of faculty leaving. I mean, if this is my only chance to talk, but if we're talking about cell phones only, I guess I didn't hear what the specific concerns were. The one I did hear was language. I do think laptops can translate if they have an internet connection, but if there are issues and concerns or inconveniences, I think great, have an offline meeting and a straightforward conversation about what it is about policy and enforcing it that's difficult. I guess I'm waiting for an educator to tell me, or maybe the general public, why is education better with the devices? I want someone to tell me that. Not that it's inconvenient or that the children all have them, or that their internet connection is better than the school's computer. I want to know why the educational experience is better, because I can just tell you from my experience with my own children, not only are they distracted, but they have been trained by the device to anticipate distraction. They are constantly seeking this. There's so much research on it, it is absolutely overwhelming that these kids, this device owns them. They are owned by the device. I think that maybe the very best thing that a school or a school district or group of parents or responsible adults could do for a child is to give them a break from the device that owns them. That's what I think. I don't know why more technology is always assumed is better. I have no idea what that is. Like I said, I think there's overwhelming evidence of schools that have reduced technology, especially personal electronic devices. Overwhelming research that shows that their academic improvement is up, their behavior is better, their social engagement is better. Clayton, I think everyone here that has a child at Clayton could state that their child had better social engagement. I think the last thing I would say, and it's just me trying to relate my life to the life of the children today. When I was their age, we had a Nintendo Game Boy. It was a Nintendo Game Boy. Some of you may be of the vintage that you would know what a Nintendo Game Boy was. If I had brought a Nintendo Game Boy to class, to think it would be confiscated, hammered, broken by my educator is probably accurate. An iPhone is so much better than Game Boy. It's so much better. They have so many things at their disposal to whether they're distracted. I think that's an interesting comment just to make, that People call the cell phone a distraction. Oh my goodness, it is not a distraction. You are the distraction, Mr. or Mrs. Educator. You are. They're focused on their device. That's their focus. That's what I would have to say.
So can I just say one thing? I know we're trying to wrap this up, and I hate to get, hate to get way out in the weeds on this one, but I see kind of two schools of thought about, the cell phone use, and I am seeing that, it doesn't have to be no cell phones or cell phones. So I'm one of those parents that takes my kid's phone away frequently as a means to keep some kind of order in our house. Also, I know that my kids suffer greatly from addiction, and we've read all of the research. We know, I mean, and the progressive schools in the United States right now are going to organic schools. They are completely unplugged. They're not even using computers. If you go to the $1 million grammar schools in Silicon Valley, you will see computers. You will not see any kind of technology in those classrooms. And those are the designers' kids, right? The designers of the cell phones kids are not allowed to use computers. We know it causes depression in kids. We know that it's terrible. But the thing about computers in our lives and cell phones is that they are a great research tool. Every kid that has a cell phone has access to a full encyclopedia that would take up the entire school with books at their fingertips. It is no longer monetary. Knowledge, research is free to the public at any time. And to shun it and to say we're not going to have it because it's addictive is foolish. I do think that, and it's a lot to charge the SIC with, but I think that what we need to do is look at the filters that will need to be mandatory on phones in school. So that kids can still have access to information that's legitimate research-based information, so they can access Canvas, but they can't get on YouTube and they can't get on social media. I think that's the key.
Thank you. I think these are all really great comments. I think it's an important discussion, and unless anybody has an overwhelming desire to make another comment, I would pose that, I guess I'll hand it over to you in just a second. I think that maybe if Pam and Elena, we could just have a communication about when the next step is happening and when parents can be involved and work through that outside of the SCC meeting, and then get an update.
The chair of the subcommittee is Lynette.
Oh, we love that.
Oh, that's good. I wanted to be known I was voluntold, but I'm doing it. But it won't, so that means nothing will happen till after home.
Okay, we'll be in touch. I'll hand it over for our last comment, and then we'll reinstate the rules if there's a motion to accept.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mohammed. I'm the school board member for our precinct. And I just have some questions. So has there been any in-depth research is done about the ramifications of having a phone in schools? And if there has been, has it been shared with the public? That's one. Two, so have you guys had a survey of teachers? And how were the responses of the teachers on that? In terms of percentages?
We did, before we started the process, we gauged the interest, and we did a Google survey of parents and a separate one of faculty. And I can't remember the exact language, I could pull it up, but it said something to the effect of, do you support a cell phone policy restricting at a minimum cell phones in the classroom? And the response was between the two, 70 to 80% positive, which is why we decided to move forward with the whole process last year.
Yeah, so when you say restricted to a minimum, was there like a description to the families in there in terms of like what is a minimum considered? Because that's like it's a broad, it's like an open-ended question.
Yeah, the minimum was in classrooms, but potentially more, like Clayton, not in the lunchtime or the hallways or things, but,
Okay,
that was the minimum, but it was no more description than that.
okay.
I
and
think we would need to do another one after there's more
Yeah.
thought and there's more concrete, but that was just to see if 50% or only 30% are even interested, they're not gonna listen.
Okay, and just out of curiosity, how many parents participated in the survey?
Not as many as we'd hope,
Okay,
couple hundred.
okay, and we do have a lot more than that here. in
I
our
think the
precinct.
faculty was quite high, because there aren't as many faculty.
Okay. Yeah, so and I think, the parents' involvement, so probably the marketing strategy or advertising strategy in this case here, to make sure the parents are involved is very, very important. Because the kids do have conversations with their kids, with their parents at home. And, their input is gonna help so much. My other, question, that the student brought up, which is like a very, very important, thank you, which is the, equity issue of usage. I don't know if, Pam, if you guys had a chance to reach out to the IT department in terms of like access to school Wi-Fi and the restrictions that they can put even on
I
having a
think-
personal device.
I texted Sam once again, but I am 99% sure that any personal device that comes in theory, probably is not perfect, but in theory is under the same rules of filtering and rules as the district laptops.
Okay, so,
And we encourage students to bring their own laptop if they're comfortable with it, it works.
okay,
Unless they choose also to have a school, which some did, have a school laptop also.
Just
That's,
really quick, I just wanna say, that's if they're on the Wi-Fi.
thank you.
If they use
There
their
you
own
go.
data, it doesn't matter, they can do whatever they want, so.
But they
Okay.
can do whatever they want all day anyway. I think that's the part, like, because they walk into school, when they leave school, they now have access again, like, it's a double-edged sword, right? Like, why does school have to become the restriction when they leave school, and now it's open? It's weird dichotomy.
Well, it's why everyone is struggling with it, it's not simple, yeah.
yeah, and one more thing is in regards to the computers being slow in downloading or uploading information. Has there been any in touch, have you guys been in touch with IT to, have they explained anything, or is it just like the lowest bidder basically? Dell gave us the cheapest ones, yeah, okay.
I know some teachers will say, open your computer and let it start.
Yeah.
And then they'll have like a warm-up activity or some problems to review, so it gives the computer the chance to catch up. And those are things really that we can remind teachers of too. All these little tips and tricks that will help them say, oh yeah, this laptop is the tool I need to use.
Yeah.
Maybe not a phone.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are I just questions, to think about. But definitely, the issue of technology and the education has been, it is such a sensitive subject because sad reality is we're trying to expose the kids to becoming more familiar with technology because of the globalization of the, work in the world. So that's, and for them to be able to access the information so that they do need to have access to that computer. Now, in regards to the phone, so I personally, this is just my own thoughts, is that phone personally would stay aside, especially if you have an available technology right in front of you that you can use.
And then I promise someone. I was just gonna say, my son that's a senior voluntarily told me this week that all but one of his teachers has like, not a policy, but some kind of rule about a cell phone. So I do feel like there seems to be a lot of, motivation, at least from his standpoint. And obviously with the survey that we gave to the teachers, there was a majority of teachers that were interested. So I think that I'm confident there's a way that we can all, work together to where there's something where everybody can be happy. We could still have some rules and still keep cell phones, I don't know, maybe put away when they're not necessary. If there's obviously an exception or something, I'm sure that can happen. But I do think that it's important, and I feel like I'm happy to hear that teachers, even without a policy, are trying to create that momentum on their own.
I think just the fact that we've been talking about it is a step in the right direction, so. So thank you to all who have helped, thus far and will continue to work together and we'll see where we went. Do I have a motion to reinstate the rules?
I'll make the motion.
In a second? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, perfect. I think we'll go ahead and turn the time over to Whitney Watchman, who is going to present the HB plan, which was emailed out. And we'll give you just a few minutes for that.
Awesome, thank you. Shouldn't be too long. I don't know that I've actually presented the HB 58 bill, not in Zoom. Gotcha. This isn't, so I'm a school counselor here at East High School, Whitney Watchman. This doesn't actually fall under the school counselor purview per se, but it's something that kind of came with me and like willingly came with me, really. And I didn't, yeah, sorry, I should clarify. I was not voluntold. But so there, I know sometimes when all the House bills come out, they're confusing, like all the numbers and then just HB something. So sometimes I tell people HB 58, don't vape. It's not just vaping, but it's giving kids positive reasons not to abuse substances, not just vaping, alcohol, drugs, things like that. So really quick, it's a plan to address causes of student use of tobacco, alcohol, electronic cigarette products, and other controlled substances through positive, so not by getting them in trouble, but giving them a reason not to. So, and back in the day, SCCs weren't this big, Becky.
No, ma'am, they're not.
So I only have 20 copies. This will also be coming out on the parent newsletter that Erin sends out. Not too much has changed, so we're still using the BEAST framework and matrix. I don't know the best way to go about this. Do you want me to just go through it, and then if you have questions, is that
We read it, so if
Okay.
you want to just
sweet?
answer questions.
Works for
or
me.
Take any.
Who has
feedback.
any questions or feedback or typos? I appreciate that too.
I'm just, Whitney, I'm just wondering what you need from us. I see that it's already gone through a number of processes and been approved.
Every year it has to go through, so it's gone through SIC and was approved last week. This is
the next step.
this
You
is
have to
the
get
SCC. Unless you guys tell me stop, I'll take back my email to Erin so it doesn't go out in the parent newspaper or newsletter. But other than that, or if you see that there's something lacking, or I thought you guys did this, or why is this on there? You guys don't ever do this anymore.
I do have one question, which is with the youth court.
Yeah.
Which I did when I was a teenager, loved it. My daughter is involved. And one question I had is just if there was ever any discussion of having that be a class, like student government. Because I know she got pulled out of class a lot last year to do the cases, and it would be maybe something just to consider as an option with the schedule next year.
That's out of my.
There's that whole process.
So maybe
It's
I'll
been
ask
considered.
her.
It's been considered. It's come up.
I think it's a great part of the plan. I like it.
Yeah.
So I just want to see it be as robust as possible. So.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So these kids that get caught, so you take whatever,
Hold on, I will use the microphone.
I'm hogging it.
someone, gets caught, a student gets caught with a viper. You guys take the instrument and then you return it,
No,
do you keep it?
Yeah, even if the parent, back in the day, maybe when someone else was an admin, that was a practice that sometimes happened. Like a parent would come in and be like, this is my vape, I want it back, and I'd go into my confiscation drawer and be like, here you go. And now that is written into law that no, that it's done.
So if Pam doesn't use it for a personal use. Hey, what is, I'd be interested in what you say to the kids. Okay. That could be helpful. And, like when I talk to my kids, we've grown up this culture that is a guilt
Mhm.
thing that's just terrible thing. So if there is something like, hey, could be a better runner. You know, a follow-up, thing like that, but like the kids could use and hear, that would be a benefit.
For sure. For sure. Shame is a powerful, powerful thing. And not in a good way. And so, yeah, I think whenever counselors are involved, it is more about kind of uncovering what's going on, that this seemed like the best of worst options. And like, maybe they got cut from track and they're like, I'm just gonna, vape up, who knows? I mean, everyone's different. And so when it's admin, Cassie.
I was just gonna say this plan is prevention, intervention, and postvention, right? So it's all steps. So it's focusing a lot also on all the awesome things that are happening here at East that are pro-social to prevent some of those things from happening anyway. And that's the purpose of this plan, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So,
So I appreciate you saying the report. To give us this. Voice to project. Thank you for sending the report. It really helped to kind of see the many layers that is happening here at East. Like, there's a lot happening. So like looking at the code, one of the things, HB 58, there's a new HB 58 every year. So using the code reference, I'll give it to you later instead of HB 58, because I went to Google it and that's like a water bill one year and right real estate another year, because HB 58 is from 2020 that this is about, but there's code. So bill numbers repeat every year, but the code is unique to the bill. So this is the super fun part of policy. But with that said, just a couple of questions. One of the big pieces of the behavior plan, besides like the pro-social behaviors and piece, is the kind of anti-drug use. So it looks like vaping is the most significant issue at East from the data from last year, whether that's true or not, feel free to correct. But are we seeing a particular age group that's more common? Is it just kind of ubiquitous to 9-12? Because we've got 10th grade health is like the time that we talk about it, but what are we, like, is it freshmen that are doing it? Like, I'm just curious in terms of who are the offenders to see if the plan is working, given who's being the offensive. I have a couple other questions, but if you want to take that one first.
That's more of an admin question at like who's hot, but if you want to keep asking.
Do you want to try and steal that one?
That is without data, there is no way. I mean, my perspective is the kids that I've dealt with, but there's a lot of other people working with students that.
With your court system, you guys have data who's coming to court for vaping. Right.
Our school, the court thing that we just want to have a class for. They haven't, I don't know that they've heard any cases this year, and they only heard a few cases last year.
I just said in the report that vaping was the most common thing that's coming to court, so I was curious about the data of like, is it 9th graders? Because if we're waiting until 10th grade, because that's what health class is, that kind of thing. Does that help?
Sure. Yep, I can answer that question. So that data I actually got from that class, and so I could get that from the teacher and easily send it on to you all, so you can see it.
Yeah, awesome. I just like, are the strategies you're putting in place working for the kids that it's being the offenders?
If someone reminds me, I'll pull the SHARP survey that we gave last year, because that has very specific things that kids can answer about pro-social and antisocial behaviors that they engage in. It's really good data. I'd say that might be the best.
And that hurts.
Opting out of health or?
No, opting out of the SHARP survey, which you shouldn't do.
Is
Don't
there a
do
reason
that.
why health is in 10th grade and not 9th grade? Why are we not doing health in 9th grade?
That's just when the state has like said to do it.
It's tradition.
Just saying, they're doing a lot of stuff earlier.
Guarantees you it's high school in the state, and still run 9th grade that are in
Yeah.
junior high.
Wow.
So those children, maybe we don't want to run something. I saw that there was a school tip line for bullying harassment. How is East promoting like the Safe UT app? Because I didn't see that represented in here, and it seemed like that might be an opportunity in the behavior.
It's in, I think it's in there. It's in there. I'm sorry.
It's a line for bullying and harassment. I didn't see Safe UT, but I may have missed it.
It's listed as one of the programs at the very end, and so so the district gives us a little presentation, which every year and some training, which they still use HB 58. So now I'm gonna be like,
I can help them as well.
yes. But they, when we have programs, activities, things like that, they would just want us to list it like this.
Got you, okay, I was just curious, because
Yeah.
that's just been such a powerful lever in
Yeah.
that state.
Kids are using it.
Yes, they are. I had a daughter that was suicidal at one point. It was very helpful. Mindfulness classes, what is the participation in those? Like it's, from the report, it sounded like low participation, so I was just curious.
It has been lower participation, and one edit that, I think might be in your report, is there will be 4 different breakout groups also that are focusing. Mhm. And so we're hoping that will, and because it'll be in school, so mindfulness is after school. Anytime we try to do something after school, there's all sorts of issues. And so it'll be during the school day that students can sign up for. We're starting small, and so that's why you haven't seen any advertisement. Rose Renault is the counselor at East who's kind of heading that up all on her own. And so she is hesitant to advertise because it's so new. And so she kind of wants to work some of the kinks out and some of the scheduling issues with a smaller cohort before it becomes anything bigger.
Thank you so much for all your work on this. Are you needing a vote of us approving it?
I think
You
so.
just present.
It's for feedback, at least the law says just they don't give input.
Maybe, do I have a motion that maybe would state that we support this effort that as it's been presented?
I'll make the motion.
Any second? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Amy. All right, we'll go ahead and we are moving on to the report part of the agenda. For those who are new here, I know we have some new faculty. This tip, I had some ask like, what are we supposed to do? This is typically fairly quick, just some highlights. If there's anything that's ever more substantial, you can talk with the chair and Pam and we can add it into the discussion agenda, but just something simple, low stress, just to give us a quick update on your purview. So Pam.
Okay, there's many things to talk about, but the first thing I'm gonna say is there are, right at this moment, 283 students on activity hold, which means they have passed the threshold of absences and tardies or lates that they can have. So my first question is, and this is not to shame, but does anyone, if your kid is on activity hold, did you get an email? Did anyone get an email here? Because the student is supposed to get an email in their school email, and parents are supposed to get an email that says, hey, your kid's on activity hold. Maybe your students are all perfect.
When would those have gone out, though, you know?
They go out when they
Just
cross
the
the
day.
threshold, it goes sometime that day.
I do love the new attendance, really.
Oh, do you guys like that? That was definitely, attendance is part of the biggest problem. If you can't excuse your student, if they can't get excused, if you don't know when they're here or not, those are problems. So anyway, if anyone, and so I was gonna say, if anyone's on activity hold, and they wanna go to homecoming on Saturday, they should see an administrator. So that's the message to share. It's just, there's time to do something to make it up, but you have to make it up or you're not going. And that's gonna be hard for kids. And it's
Yeah.
gonna be hard for me.
I wonder if of that group, how many of those students are in a situation where their schedule was kind of messed up and they had to wait a week or two to get things figured out and maybe were penalized because they couldn't attend for.
Well,
So I'm sure there'll be some leeway for that.
the very first group that came on was a lot of students maybe that aren't even coming to school here. It's those kids we call, hey, your kid, oh, we're going to Skyline. Oh, we moved away, so things like that. So definitely some of those students were students that now maybe are dropped.
And the report, when you run it, it doesn't show those drop classes in the attendance related to those drop classes.
Okay, so yeah, there are some, Sam Plunks, so I think we're cool with it. So if students are on activity hold, there are lots of ways to repair that hold. And administrators, and for some reason, Kathy are the only ones that can take the hold off. And it's really easy for us to do that. But students have to make some kind of a contract with a teacher with their counselor, with whoever, and do it. And it's up to them. We're not gonna chase them around too much, because it's gonna be too much. Yeah.
How is it enforced, like at the dance, are you having a list of all these kids or
Okay,
games?
yeah, I have a list, 283 kids. Nope. You can't come.
I mean, like at the door.
Yes, we'll have it at the door. And West, of course, has figured out a better way, but we're gonna do what we can. Well, we'll have a list. Okay, next thing I wanna show you.
Pam,
Yeah.
I'm concerned that if you,
I'm concerned that if you have 283 students and you have homecoming is this weekend, do you really have the administrators available?
Well, what I did today,
283 kids?
I gave the list to the counselors today. I met with all the counselors and gave them the list. And so when you break it down by 6 or 7 people, including us, it's a smaller number that we can deal with. Now, if we get like 800 kids on activity hold, which has happened at West, they had that many kids. We are available for students. We're available if they want to make a contract, and some of us are already doing contracts with kids, and it's just really getting going, and we gotta see how it works. Yes.
I don't think the question was like how to get the kids off of activity hold. The question is if there's like however many of you guys at the gates of homecoming, and
Oh.
283 kids on activity hold.
Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Either way, well, with 283, I don't feel like that's gonna be too overwhelming to look up. But again, if it gets, and really we want kids to get off of it. We want kids to be in class. The goal is improve your attendance. Student A to student B. Improve your attendance, improve your tardies. Be to class at the beginning of class when teachers do review, when they do starter activities for points, when you start a test. Kids that are late miss so much. So we're just trying, and I promise you it's gonna be better than it's been. That's all I can say. It's better than it's been. Okay, so another thing we're doing that's helping. This is hard to see, but this is what our cameras look like. And notice, and there's like hundreds of cameras. There's so many cameras. So I can sit working. You guys see that? The light is so bad in here, I think. This is just one view of one
There's
part
no
of the
kids
building.
out of class right now.
I know,
The
isn't
halls
it
are
so
empty.
funny? So when I'm sitting and working, when my assistant principals are working at their desks, someone, and with our, we have advocates, I'll talk about that next. Someone is assigned to be on cameras. And what that means is you're typing, you're doing emails, and you look down and you flip through and you say, hey, advocate A, there's a bunch of kids that look like they just went into the girls' bathroom. Can you go see? And someone will say, yep, I'm right there. I'm gonna go see. You guys haven't seen this before, huh?
Is this new, the
Nope.
cameras and everything, or is this what
Nope.
you've always been doing?
It's just a tool, and this is the problem. This is a tool oh, I'm sorry. My hand is gonna break, so I'm just hurrying back. So yeah, it doesn't look very exciting, but it really is. The problem has been, since I've been here, and you guys know this, we have not had any advocates hardly at all, especially at the beginning of the year. When you don't have anyone in the hallways to help you, it doesn't do any good to be on cameras, because you see something happening, and there's 3 of you, and no advocates, and the teachers are all teaching, and you go, yeah, I guess, yeah, that's happening right now, and there's nothing you can do. Right now, where did Tom go? I was excited to answer his questions.
I'll report back.
You report back to him, okay. We have 6 or 7 advocates right now, which again, this is my 3rd year. The other 2 years when I started, I had 0 or 1, both other years. So we know how important this is, especially with this whole this activity hold and attendance and get to class. And now that we have enough people to start the year, we have a rotation. People have spots they go. They check here, they check there. Someone else is checking here and here. The person on the cameras has the radio and says, please check here, please go here. Hey, I just talked to little Johnny and now he's in the hall again. And I just talked to him. Will you go bring him to me? Or someone in the hall is looking like they're getting angry and they're doing this and they're this with their friend and not a friend. You can send someone, it looks like someone's just getting into it. Like they're not fighting, but you can just see that maybe they're gonna be fighting. So we can go intervene with things before they happen. Which it's hard to measure that, but it's an important thing.
Is the advocate, like, that is their only job? Is this like a teacher? So
It's their only job.
So they're just hired as an advocate.
Yep. They work with kids, they end up having kids that they work with more like one-on-one to try to help them do the right things. And their job is to have a radio and go through their part of the building and help at lunch and help before school and after school. That is the biggest impact that we're gonna have this year. Are people to help in the halls. It makes me almost cry. I've been crying all the time lately, I'm getting old. But I cannot tell you how hard it's been to try to keep things safe and orderly, which if you know me at all, that's kind of my thing, is safe. I'm all about being safe. If your kid can't come to school and feel safe, we're not gonna have a good educational experience for them. Which is why the bathrooms need a lot of help, the hallways need help, why we need so many advocates, why we find extra funding to hire people to help. That's it. Yes,
Are the police officers running around the school during the day or
no,
no?
that's not really their job. They don't run around the school. They hang out by the front, they hang out at lunch.
Yeah,
If I ask them to go like park their car on one of the sides, if it feels really, like the other day, it felt really funky out there, like something was gonna happen. So I had them park their car and just turn their lights on. That's the kind of stuff.
is
we
there a
do.
lot of theft in the school?
I would say no, but then a girl came in today and said she went to the bathroom and left her bag in class and someone went through it and stole stuff during class.
Yeah.
We don't have proof of that. Like, we don't have, I don't know if we
It's been
even,
a big problem
It's
with
weird.
the football team. A lot of hundreds of dollars have been stolen out of the locker room. A young man's laptop with his car was broken into, so it's a little bit of a concern, growing concern.
Mhm.
And I think the boys, even if they know who it is, they're afraid.
They
to
don't
turn
tell.
them in because of whatever repercussions may come from that. So it's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, Jen right here has been actually watching on some camera things we can go backwards. It's so awesome, you guys. This is the funnest thing. Going back to see if you can, like, someone's car got vandalized a little bit today and Ron was sitting, doing his work and letting the thing go backwards just to see who was by that car, what could have happened. So it's pretty powerful. And now that we actually can have the time to do that, it's making a big difference. Okay, what else? We wrote a grant with the state about teen centers, teen rooms. And I heard yesterday that it got funded. So I know a lot of you have been interested in that and heard about it and told us about it. Our foundation helped all 3 high schools write one grant. And of course I wrote ours because I like writing grants. That's something I know how to do. So anyway, it got funded. And that's really exciting. And we'll be able to, the update really from that is that I wrote in funds to kind of refurbish and fix up all of our student services in the basement that got flooded and they've never been the same. Ceiling tiles, paint, furniture, carpet, all of the things, lighting. I actually think I put a drop ceiling in the boutique because have you been down there lately? It's like a big cavernous cement, ugly. So anyway, we're gonna have money to do some of those things to have our students get better services that they need. And we have a new person to be in charge of all that. And we love him already.
He's awesome.
He's awesome, huh?
Yes.
He is, how many of you have met him? He's reaching out to you guys to come and help and start getting all that going again.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. When does that get to start? Like, when do we get to start with the teen center?
James told me that he wasn't sure when funding would come. He just got the message that it was going to come.
It's designed to be reimbursable, so once you start submitting receipts, you'll get reimbursed through that money.
Okay, there you go.
No, I'm praying, I'm so glad.
I know, are you so excited? I know, I'm glad you came.
Thank you.
Anyway, those are the kind of things, like, COVID really impacted us. Our floods impacted us so much. You don't realize it until time goes by and you go, well, what happened to this? Oh yeah, it got ruined in the flood and we all got discouraged and we had other things to do. And so now I think this is the year of returning and renewing a lot of the things that have been kind of lost or damaged. So I'm trying to think, hold on, I think I made a note of myself.
Want me to remind you of something?
I did, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I just had a question about the safety, claim that I actually questioned, because, the bullying, also the use of the N-word is so prevalent here. It actually even happens in classrooms while teachers are there, in front of faculty does not do anything about it. My kids, their friends don't feel safe. Who do we complain to? What can be done about it? I'm glad that there is like a whole bill regarding like, you know, this, that something can be done about it, but how come that is not? This is just part one. My second part, the safety claim, is that we don't have enough parents. We have enough advocates, you know, that you're excited about. What can we rotate that? Because so again, some of our students are not feeling safe and they are getting bullied, and teachers don't have enough help in the classrooms.
We are almost fully staffed with paras, but some of them haven't been able to start yet because they go through a whole process.
What is almost, I'm sorry.
Probably within a week. But when we turn in paperwork and say, hey, HR, we're gonna hire this person, they say, we'll do this and this and this and this and this and this. And like a week or a week and a half later, they get cleared to come and work. There are things they have to do. They have to do trainings first online and some things like that.
That's just one out of 4. That's supposed to be the according to parents. So.
Well, we have a new person that we hired for Sam, and she's aware of that, and I've been in touch with her about that. And then to your other points, the superintendent has actually talked to me in person about worries about use of the N-word and bullying and some of the reports she's getting from the whole district. And what I can say for me here is if I hear about it in a meeting and it's not anywhere near when it happened, and without any specifics, I can't do anything about it. If I see something, if Mark has a student that he sees and comes right to me, or another assistant principal, or a teacher, and a teacher can report, then we can do something about it right away, within the day. If we don't know.
That does not happen. I can give you incidents from like today. It happens on a daily basis. It happens in the cafeteria, in the classroom. My son was even in youth club regarding like this situation where he was called, you know, a black kid in the classroom, and that was handled. So I find it unbelievable that we have other situations since then.
I am too. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry that's happening to your son or your daughter. I'm very sorry. All I can say is I need someone to walk in and say, as a student, this just happened to me. Or another student, this is my friend and this just happened to my friend.
I think just the bullying harassment tip line and the whole purpose of that tip line.
Yep, and we have had some tips.
That's where I would have thought you'd go.
It's not advertised.
So we're gonna do anti-harassment training this Thursday. It's scheduled, and that's what I was here to present. And so all those things will be brought up in.
Let's go. This is perfect. Go ahead.
Great. So one of the
And
things.
Mark, will you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Mark Unruh. I'm one of the counselors here.
He's taking over for Kevin.
Right.
Who's been here.
Every so often we change responsibilities, so you'll be patient with me when I learn how to operate. I was on SCC decades ago, and I'm back. So I'm happy to be here. One of the things that we're required to do annually is the anti-harassment presentation. So we have it scheduled for this Thursday. It will be in all classrooms, in the connection classroom. It'll be a 40-minute time frame that we'll be able to present our agenda. The agenda includes a short video on anti-harassment, what it looks like, and what to do with if it occurs to you, or if it occurs to your friend, or if you see somebody being harassed or bullied. We will go over, and I gave you a copy of this. The school boards should have it in your packet, and if you don't have it, I can give it to you. The procedures, the definitions, and what is to be done when it occurs. And so it's kind of a pledge not to do it. You know, it's to inform students what it looks like, and them not to do it. So we have students all sign a form, and that form is turned into our administration, saying that they've seen the anti-harassment training, they've understood the policy, and that there are safe places to go. Any adult in the school, if you get harassed, you go to any adult in the school and let them know. Counselors are, our job is to be that friendly person. We're trying to be the advocate with the student as well as the connection teacher. We're trying to give each student two people in their lives specifically that they know and are comfortable to come to and talk to. If a student isn't comfortable with their connection teacher or their counselor, they can go to any adult, any other connection teacher, any other counselor. On the presentation, find out in just a second here. After the video, we have and the review of the policy and the signature. There is a survey, and let me read to you what the survey says. I wish I would have made a copy of it and given it to you. I can send this presentation out to you through, I guess I can give it to you and you can send it out. The survey is anonymous. And the first question asks, have you ever seen or personally experienced bullying at East High School? It's a yes or no question. And the next question is, if yes, please indicate where you saw or experienced the bullying. That way we can, if there are patterns of bullying at certain locations, it helps us focus on those locations. And the next question asks, what did you do when you saw or experienced bullying? And it gives them options, and these are good, healthy options. Report it to an adult, report it on Safe UT app, help the friend that it happened to, walk away from it, or nothing, because some students would do nothing because they'd be petrified. They wouldn't know what to do. Ideally, our anti-harassment presentation will give them tools of what to do if they see that. So we take this data, compile it, and then we give it to our administration to look at. Do you have any questions about the anti-harassment?
It seems, based on some experiences and what you're describing, that there would be beneficial. It'd be beneficial to have some sort of reporting mechanism and tracking, so people could know what's going on, where it's going on, maybe who the perpetrators are. And then you could at least track that if reporting is consistent, track that over time. Is that something that's happening?
So I'm not in charge of that area. I would be able to address that. I don't know if you have that answer, but I can tell you if they go and report it to an adult here at the school, then we would be informed. And then if they come tell me, then I walk with them down to the administration and do a handoff. And then they do the investigation and find out the details and then respond to those incidents.
And then from there, is it tracked?
It's tracked in our student information system. It's a very powerful, huge, it tracks all of our data, and you can get a lot of information from it. And our district people and us at school try to follow our own data, and we have district level data as well.
So how are things, so we have the data, how's the data trending right now? What's the data's
We're
telling
in the
us?
third week of school, and I guess I need to look for last year, and I haven't done that yet. So someone give me a list of things to do. That's your job, Jen. Jen has to give me things to do. But yeah, when students come in and there's serious things going on, we track it we have a thing where we can put really serious incidents and less serious incidents. And we do it for everything we deal with. So it's all in there.
I'll just tell you, we played 4 football games this year at East. In 2 of those games, the refs stopped the game, brought the whole team and the coaches onto the field and addressed the N-word that's been said. In practice, anyone says that word, he's doing up downs like a couple of hours. And we take it really serious in our deal.
Well, Mark, maybe I can ask you a couple of questions related to that. Like, is the tip line in the presentation for kids next?
It is.
Okay, and then what training have the teachers had? So Davis School District has had the big OCR event around this kind of harassment. And I think you're headed in the same direction if we don't start to like clamp down. And I don't know, at least in Davis, the teachers were not prepared to know what to say to put a stop to those kinds of harassing behaviors in the classroom, because they hear it, but they're not well trained. What do you guys do for staff to help them with how to address harassment in the classroom?
I wouldn't be able to address that. Can address that issue, but I can tell you from a counselor standpoint, Safe UT is not a new tool. We've had it for years, and we've all have cards on it. We're handing them out. We meet with your students annually in what we call a college career readiness meeting. So in that meeting, we're talking to students about what's going on in their lives, how not lives outside of school, but how is school going? What's your career goals and other things, graduation progress. So in that meeting, I'm kind of just going with a gut feeling. I've been doing this for 30 some years, and I just have a gut feeling of things. And so I don't just hand a card out every time a student comes into my office, but I'm constantly have my antennas out to see what students' needs are. And so I have my pack of that Safe UT. The first thing I ask them is, do you have that on your phone? If not, are you comfortable with putting it on your phone? Let's do it right here. And then I'll even call up Safe UT and show them, because they know me. I just call them up and say, hey, I'm with a student. I want them to know that there's somebody on the other end of this phone call, and they'll say, yeah, we are, and we welcome your phone calls. They could be anonymous and so on. So that's what we do. We promote it heavily, but most of our kids know about it. When I talk to them anyway, maybe not all, obviously not all, but it's not a new tool, and I love it. We get tips on it. We have people monitoring it 24/7. So a tip comes in, and then I know I've gotten calls from administrators on weekends saying, hey, you have one of your students who is suicidal, and here's what we're doing. Or what can you do to help support that? And so I think it's a great tool, and I think we use it quite wonderfully.
Yeah, this training is really good. It helps our students, and it's not perfect, but it is something. And Kathy had a comment.
And it's also students are trained at the elementary level on up. So all the time at the elementary levels, not only on anti-harassment, but also with Safe UT. So students have been trained on it since like elementary school. But I did want to add about the data. That SHARP survey is so important. A lot of our House bills and what we're required to teach as counselors and as schools come out of that data from the SHARP survey. So always opting into that so that students' voices are heard. This vaping House Bill 58 came as a result of the data from the SHARP survey. That SHARP survey information said that students had a significant, like 100% increase in the use of vaping from one survey to the next, which is why we now have this bill that we have to be preventative in nature and have these different levels of intervention. Same with bullying and our anti-harassment policies. And also the number one cause for student suicidal ideation is bullying. So it's very serious in our state. It's the second leading cause of death for students that attend our schools, all the way from elementary to high school. And so, yes, when I hear you guys talk about anti-harassment or bullying or the N words, it is very serious. And I think it needs to be something that the data is looked at every year, and problem solving, how we can have more preventative lessons, not just this one-time lesson on anti-harassment. I like what I'm hearing about the coaches and stuff, but all the adults in students' lives need to be talking about it on the regular, really.
This reminds me, and then I'm gonna have Lynette.
Perfect. I was gonna say that we
Yeah,
kind of
sorry,
straight
I
over to
know
the
it's
next,
late.
move the agenda.
We spent, administrators this summer spent about 12 hours learning and participating in an anti-racism, anti-bias training that has been kind of honed down into a finer point. And we as principals are required to present it and take our whole staff through it. So, and I think that might really help with the issue of you hear something and you're kind of frozen and don't know what to do. So I'm telling you that the staff doesn't even know we're doing this yet, but we've got to pick a time, and it is a very serious, it's one of those trainings that makes you really uncomfortable in a good way, because there's things that you know you need to learn that you don't know. Anyway, wish me luck on that. And now we're gonna do student government.
Thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. And, personally, hearing that word is just like an utterly disgusting, racist. There is no words, no way around it, period. And I promise you that as a Black person who have been trusted by the community to be in this position, I will get to the bottom of this and damn better make sure something comes through. Because it is okay to have training, but the training, everyone is gonna go through it to check mark that they've done it. The reality is that the behavior need to change from home. So I urge, like the SCC here, to send, for example, an email to every parent to talk to their kids to refrain from using such a racist word. And I mean, I would put it straight as this. There is no filtration. There is no way. There is no politically correct of addressing that, except that, hey, yo, you need to talk to your kid to stop from using N-word, And if I would be glad to send something like that, because that is just something that should stop. That's, and I will meet with you, and trust me, it is disgusting to be called that way, because I was called that, not once, not twice, not 3 times. I am just a human being, Black, born this way. And I have given God's right to live in this world as anyone else. And when certain words are, has a historical abuse of that race, it just should stop. Yes, we do have policies, but I promise you, I know we are told as board members, if you cannot do something, don't promise. But I am gonna get to the bottom of this, and we'll make sure something is done about it.
Thank you, Mom. Thanks, Andy.
Chris, just one last thing for me. I handed out a copy of our responsibilities in the council center for you. So that gives you our alphabets. And the responsibilities, just be careful, doesn't mean we're in charge of those issues. It just means in the counseling center that we're the liaison for those issues. So you may come to me and say, well, Mark, it says you're SCC, and I'll go, well, I'm not in charge of it. I'm our representative on SCC. And so if you get a blank look of me for sometimes, I can tell you what we're doing in the counseling center on these issues, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're in charge of them. So that's important as a distinction.
Great, thank you. Well, we'll turn the time over to Lynette for a quick student government update.
Hey guys, it's homecoming week. I don't know what else to say. We had a great welcome week. We had our welcome assembly. We have one of the more full student governments we've actually had in a while, which is really exciting. And so that's really good. But yeah, homecoming week is full swing. We started with an awesome PTA breakfast, which the kids loved. And we have a powder puff game tomorrow night, which we haven't done in quite a while, that I know of at least. So we're excited about that. Movie night Thursday, obviously homecoming game, PTA tailgate on Friday, and then the big dance on Saturday, where we're gonna find out how the attendance policy activity hold all plays out at homecoming. So it's gonna be just an adventure. But I do think we have some things in place to figure that out. But I don't know, I think that's mostly it. I know that after this, after we calm down a little bit, we are already slated in student council, which is Senate and student government, by the way. We have the 2 arms to talk a little bit about parking and student parking and bathrooms and hall passes, because those are concerns that have been brought up in SIC. And I know that there are concerns that some students and teachers have, safety in all those places. And so we're gonna start some conversations on those. If there are ever conversations that you feel like you're worried about, like I fully would love to be able to have conversations about these issues in student government, because that's a good way to kind of mediate between students and teachers in a more of a calm environment before taking it out to the wide array, then I'm always happy to do that. But unless they have any questions, that's student council.
Thank you, Lynette.
Very good.
Rebecca, is Sarah?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're Sarah. It's wonderful to meet you.
Yes, okay, PTA update. We are off to a great start this year. We had a parent meet and greet with the principal before our first PTA meeting and opened it up to all the parents to come and ask questions about our new policies and meet Pam and hear about all the great plans for the year. So we'd love to do a few more of those throughout the year. I think it is a good thing just to get the community and give the community an opportunity to come and ask their questions. And then we're supporting student government in their homecoming activities, and we did a student breakfast on Monday and provided free breakfast for all the students. And then Friday, we're doing our tailgate before the football game. Later this month is SCP, parent-teacher conferences, so PTA will be providing dinners for the teachers on both days, both at East and then we're also off to a great start with our fundraising. Rebecca Frederick has some great products. In fact, I want to just let her speak for 1 minute and show you what we're offering.
30 seconds. So
Yep.
we've kind of continued the kindness campaign this year. We've updated these, which kind of goes along with bullying. Everything helps. I think the school definitely, we're making a push towards just being kind. So we have updated signs. This is all part of fundraising. So if you have interest in making any sort of donations, or I told any of the faculty, we would give them to a cost. We have that. And then we also have just East flags this year. So if you have any interest in making a donation to PTA, we have a few other products. I just thought I'd bring them. I'd had a few people even here in this room ask about them. So that's kind of, again, the push that we're going to put on it. It's great to this season.
Anything else from you? Thank you so much. Did you have anything else to share? We have a new SIC chair, Elena Martinova.
I guess the only thing that was not mentioned so far is the new assessment that we're going to have. This is, instead of the reading inventory, we're going to have the growth measure assessment. We have decided to implement this assessment in the connections classes. Reading is a school-wide goal. So instead of administering the assessment in the language art classes, we have decided to administer the assessment in our connections classes. The first time we're going to do that is September 21st. So please encourage your students to take this assessment seriously. This measures where the school is at the beginning, and then we will do this 3 times throughout the year to measure growth in reading. But again, we do this through connections because connections is a class every student takes, and we think this would be the best way to deliver the assessment to the student in their connections class. So September 21st is the first time. So thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, I think we'll just move ahead to the last item on the agenda, which is election. And Pam, your charge. The Utah law says the principal runs this, so I'm going to turn the time over to you.
Break the line, you have to help me. I don't know how to do this. Okay.
And it says legally to do it by secret ballot, so I made you some ballots.
You made me some ballots, but I guess before we have to have nominations or volunteers for the chair, the vice chair, and secretary. Right?
Yeah.
So, let's start with secretary, start at the bottom. We have a very good secretary.
I can ask a quick question. I know I'm not.
Oh, first we need to do the membership.
See, this is why she needs to help.
That's
Okay.
what I was just gonna ask. Will the new membership elect the leadership of the new body?
Yes.
Okay, I got 4 emails from people who want to be voting members. 4. So that's not enough. So I was gonna ask you what she.
Well, so each SCC can decide how big their SCC will be, and in our last meeting, we decided we didn't want to cap it. And that language is captured from the minutes and in a document that's on the website. But that we reserved the right to cap it if it was overwhelming, which it doesn't appear to be. So, I would propose that we hear who these people are, especially if they aren't able to be present, and unless there's objections. I would,
Okay,
Can
So
I
we-
also ask,
yeah,
I understand this is a 2-year term, who's,
yeah, who's coming back?
or who's not coming, or coming back or not coming back, so we know kind of what the composition looks
I
like.
have a list somewhere.
we have it on the clipboard, yeah. So whoever on there was elected last year for the first time is automatically on the SCC this year.
Okay, so what we have when you signed in was we have people who are back for a second year, and Kristen is on for a second year.
Well, no, I finished my second year. This is,
But are you coming back for a third year?
I would like to be on the
Okay,
SCC next year, but I have to be elected today.
so should I read all these or?
Read
I'm not getting you.
who's bumping off that needs to,
Okay, so second year people that are done, so that's you, Becky, Elizabeth, Ned. Rebecca Anderson, who I don't think is, okay,
she said she couldn't make it.
okay. Jen Franson, Sarah, Sarah. Sarah, I'm sorry. I don't know how to say any names right at this time, point in the night, Carla Jimenez. And Shelley. I have to. So I guess that's the people that would be done.
Can they reapply?
Yes.
But if they're not here, so would they have to apply next time? We
Well,
just go on, remember last year, we kind of just took who was here with the new people who applied.
unless they emailed in advance saying they were interested, which would be the 4 people that emailed you.
Yep, those are just the 4.
That's a lot of people leaving with only 4 coming on. It'd be great. We've got some really great momentum.
Yeah,
Have some
Unless
of
how
these
many of those
amazing-
want to run again, like I'd like to come back.
I mean, I think last year, we just said, and we didn't have a group this big, but we said, who's really serious about being on the SCC? Of the people that were here. And then when people came later, we gave them a chance too, because some people couldn't come tonight.
And we have it written in there that if you want to allow people later, we can probably just do that on a meeting basis, so. I would make a motion that anybody who's interested and wants to be on it to sign their name on there and we vote.
Yeah, there's an empty spot, so maybe come in on this sheet. And sign your name in the middle where it's blank, that you actually are gonna be here, because we need you to be here. We need you. If you come once and leave, that is so not helpful to your student or to me or to any of us, so. So we'll have you sign your
Can we
name.
just do real quick a list of who is running that's not automatic? And if you're not sure, you're the next list, maybe we read those out so that you know you're automatic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, first year, we did all the second year people who are coming off. Molinai, myself, Rebecca Frederick is a first year, Wade Bean, David, Shannon, Robert, Aaron, Annie, Tim, Ashley. Sarah.
Yeah, I don't know, I thought that was a sign sheet, sorry.
No, it is.
Well, it is,
You're-
I mean, as PTA president, I think I just have to
You're
attend,
here,
right?
yeah, yeah.
You don't have a choice.
Okay.
So those are all the first year who can come and go to next year, are all of those people wanting to continue? What was the question? Every single
honor.
first year you wanting to continue to your second year. Oh, yeah, I got it.
why don't we just make a list of everyone who's not automatic, raise your hand and we'll write down that you're interested, so. My name is Kristen McDonald, like be on the list.
And actually, I'd like to be on the list too as a voting member, if that's possible.
You should be.
That's right. I need a voice.
Okay, here's Sarah.
Yeah, Elizabeth.
And Shannon.
Are you Cameron?
Hi.
Okay, so, and thank you for the email. So yeah, the people who wrote are all here, all 4.
Kristen, do we have a student Representative of the.
Yes, we're gonna have a student representative.
Because I.
Well, we think we don't have to, but I think it's a good idea. So that's something maybe we discuss at the next meeting, since we did prepare for it.
We talked about it last year, though.
So for us, the counseling center, just to add to that, is that we use this as our advisory committee, which we're required to have. And so years ago, we came to SCC and said, would you be our advisory committee to fulfill that responsibility that we have? And that says we have to have a student or students or a student on it.
Are you asking because you have a student that's
Yeah,
interested?
she would love to be,
voting
member.
And I've reached out to student government as well to see if we could get something from there. It doesn't have to be just one. Just to have, a couple of student voices would be wonderful. So
Let's vote on who's here, and then next meeting, if there's any others, then the body that is elected can choose to react after that.
Becky, I want to make sure I have everyone who wants to possibly come.
Can you share the name of?
Oh, this is Big C.
I know, yeah.
She would love to be a student.
Kristen, remind me, are we voting members as faculty too, or, okay?
Well, Elena is.
Raise my hand, I didn't know if I was out of order.
I don't think that the faculty have ever held an election, and Elena is planning to do that.
We have to have an election. We haven't had one in several years.
Okay.
So yes, we will have faculty members that will be voting members.
Okay, so just because I'm on the committee doesn't mean I'm that.
Correct.
Okay.
So, but we will appreciate it very much if you volunteer to be part of the voting.
Yeah, we can do that.
But we will have the election.
So what, so.
Yeah. Let's put Rebecca, Rebecca Anderson. It emailed me, I should have forwarded it to Pam, but.
As a new. I don't know why. Okay, so it's gonna be coming back.
Maybe once you think the list is complete, will you just read it? And we'll make sure that anybody's not missed, and then we can make a motion.
Yep.
This is a good thing, this is taking long.
I know.
This is a good thing.
And does Tom wanna be, does he wanna be back this year too?
We'll let him.
He just came to help. Okay. That's good.
All right, so we
Use
have.
the mic.
Sorry. Yes, sir. All right, so we have 11 people who will automatically go on to their second year. And none of those that are here said they did not want to do that, so we have the 11 there. We have Kristen, Sarah, Jen, Elizabeth, Becky, and Rebecca Anderson, who would like to continue. It would be their third year. We have last names. Oh, yeah, sorry. Sarah Belzer.
Sorry, I'm a first year.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I think you said third.
Yes, you're right, because you want to join, sorry.
Yes.
Elizabeth Florence, Carol Cox, and Rebecca Anderson. And then Jen Bronson, sorry. I want to continue on for a third year. And Sarah. Okay. And then we have one student representative that would like to join, and then I have two, but aren't there 4 new people?
You have, Becky was one that emailed, so they're not necessarily new, Mary Catherine,
Carrie, do you have her?
Annie, no, and the one whoever you told me this. And then your name is I spelled wrong.
Kareem, how do you say your last name? Potter. So Kareem would be a new member, Cameron would be a new member, Mary Catherine Perry would be a new member, correct? And then Sarah would technically be a new voting member.
So what does that total to? 11 plus
22.
33?
No, like total.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
22 total. Yeah. 11 existing and then everyone who would like to continue. I think that's manageable. Yeah.
So I'd like to make a motion to accept all the members returning and new. For a second. And I'd also like to make a motion to accept Stacy is our first student member since I've been here. So you guys okay with that? Yeah. Okay, so raise your hand if you agree with both of those. All right, now we gotta get out of here. Okay, so we have beautiful little, I'm gonna hand these out while you think about what you're going to run for. So don't put anything on here yet, I'm just handing them to you. So back to before we were voting on members, does anyone want to nominate or be nominating themselves for secretary? You're done.
No, I told her I'd be happy to run again if there wasn't somebody else who was very wanting to. No, not me.
Okay, so someone's gotta keep track of what we're voting for, too. Maybe if you don't have.
Yeah, I'd say for.
Okay.
So nominate Natalie. Does anyone else want to?
Does anyone else want to?
That's what we did.
Yeah, that sounds better. If someone can get it.
You want?
Okay, how about, so anything else for secretary? No? Okay, then vice chair, anyone want to do vice chair? And kind of the expectation for a vice chair is that you're learning, you can help run meetings if we need to, and you're learning to be the chair, maybe the next year.
I nominate Dave first.
Oh, I'll second that.
Oh, I heard it.
I might have to withdraw.
No,
It's an honor to be on the committee, but I don't know if it's an honor to be nominated.
Yeah, I don't know about that either. I agree with that one. Anyone else want to think about doing vice chair? I think it's a really good position. There's some responsibility, but it's not overwhelming. And you learn a lot to help for next time. And you carry some of that knowledge to the next year, which is really important.
Does that mean Maloney is going for chair?
no,
Having been the vice?
no.
Have you
No,
gone out
someone
emails?
needs to have that experience.
Okay, so no, we have one person that's hesitant.
Yeah, I don't know if I think Shannon.
You're every time, come on.
Oh.
Okay, how about, well, we can think about, so you think about that one. So going again for secretary? Any secretary people? Okay, I know, but if someone is just dying like, but I wanted to do it, like, I wanna know.
When you have someone who's good, you're like, oh, that's.
I know, don't mess with that, exactly. Vice chair, any others? We have a hesitant Dave, that's it. Hesitant Dave. Okay, chair.
Well, back to vice chair if we may. Shannon?
No.
She's gonna be president next year.
I know, but it'd be
Yeah,
great.
I'm gonna be doing.
Yeah, cause you're learning to be the
I
president,
am
huh?
already in training.
Okay. if you
How about
don't
Annie?
training-
Vice chair.
I nominate Annie Payne.
Ooh.
I won't have a kid here by the time I would become president.
That would,
Well,
well,
that's
you
not
don't need to
really
be
a,
president.
you don't have to have a kid here next year. Because our vice chair from last year, I think, is saying,
But Dave, how old are your kids? Come on.
Yeah, they're
You got them all.
almost out of the house. Hopefully.
okay,
You're doing a good job.
how about for chair? We gotta get out of here, people. We gotta get out. We gotta do this.
How about
Cindy.
Mary Catherine?
Oh, no.
This is our first meeting as a voting member.
I know, but she, vice chair could run Congress, I mean.
Yeah, you could run. I agree with that.
Wait, is that a no? No?
If she would do it again.
I know. I can do it again. I need to.
Elizabeth?
No, I've done it.
You've been the president too, or you've been the chair? How many of you have been the chair of an SCC?
How about Wade B?
Oh.
I second that.
Ooh.
I second that.
It's
You'd be,
really
you'd
fun.
be amazing.
It's really
What about
fun.
Annie Chair?
Well, Annie, you could do it this
You could do
year.
it this year.
If you're with your daughter.
I have already had this conversation with Tim and we've decided that that's not a good idea.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We're just glad you're here. We're glad you're joining us. I think,
I would do it,
Oh,
absolutely.
Kristen, isn't there somebody that you said there was a revenue or something that we wanted?
we
Oh, I
talked through all the,
I was just talking about Cameron who. Oh.
The people who emailed just said, we would like to be part of it and be voting members.
So it was just a voting.
No, it's a voting member. Okay, Becky Cisneros would step into to be the chair again.
Jen,
So-
say you might do it?
I think that would be great.
I think Aaron would do it.
Aaron.
Like time to it, but I would.
Aaron, you right? We need-
Aaron,
We need a vice chair that's not a.
Someone nominate Aaron, so we just get.
I nominate, I'd like to nominate. Aaron. You got a nomination? Okay, you got a nomination
to the vice chair.
Oh, yeah, you nominate Aaron Massey. Okay, I second the nomination. Can we make a
All
vote?
the side conversations, this is, you guys are worse than teenagers and only stop. Okay, so let's get this so we can get in a minute. So Natalie, we have your name for secretary and you are running unopposed so far. Vice chair,
Dave
Dave.
and Annie Payne.
Annie is saying no.
For vice chair.
Even for.
You said no for chair.
I said no fire.
Okay.
The vice chair.
Okay, I heard a no, so I just.
I feel like you've got more to add than I do.
Yeah, ballot. You could both.
Yeah, you can both be on the ballot.
Okay,
We'll just.
Okay, so
chair, I heard Wade Bean.
No, that's.
Becky Cisneros Cox and Aaron is Mason. And
I
Matthew.
thought Mary Catherine Perry was
No, no. Oh,
I
no.
didn't hear.
pretty sure.
it's on the teen center, she's gonna be busy.
I gotta learn. I'm ready.
So wait, who are our choices for?
Okay,
Chair was Wade, Becky, or Aaron? The three names that were thrown out there.
Or if Annie wants to do vice chair, why don't you be an option for chair?
Yeah, Dave.
No, my support is behind Aaron Massey tonight.
Wait, that's chair. I do too. So now I'm hearing Dave for both vice chair.
No, yeah.
or Chair is what I'm hearing.
I may not even, I may.
clarify, you gotta clarify here.
Even though it's an honor.
Okay, just keep in mind, chair and vice chair people, you have to meet with me to make an agenda. And you have to deal with me, and you have to email me. And you
And
have to
email
put
everyone
up with
else.
me. So just know that may change some of your minds if you know that that is the case. No, but it's just true.
At
This
least
is
to the
just
point
pure
where
truth.
people can cast their ballot.
Okay, so we need to, okay, everyone has this, right?
I got you a brown paper bag. if you
Oh,
want
I
it.
wondered, I'm like, I think someone brought me a sandwich. but no, that's not in here. Okay, so I think we need like a big paper with the names for the different people. We spell it right. Like, we need to, you know what I mean? Like,
Wait, who are we actually voting for?
so Becky for chair.
Wade.
My name's Aaron. She's
No.
Aaron as well.
Should I write them up here?
Are you AAR?
Yeah, there's.
We're-
Okay, so
I know, I wish that was. a
are you right,
brown
Doug?
whiteboard.
Oh, it's not.
Oh, it's not a whiteboard. That's the thing. Let's see, I need a marker.
I don't think you can do it. Say it one more
Just say it and then
Okay,
you
so.
can tell it.
Guys, stand up. If you're running for chair, stand up.
For chair, we have.
Stand up really quick.
Becky Cisneros Cox
Okay,
and Aaron.
Matt.
okay. So Becky,
I withdraw.
No, Dave.
I just want to be the best committee member I can be.
and he's really good as a committee member. I can see that. I see what you're
We're
saying.
involved in other areas, aren't we?
Yes, we are. We are. Okay, so Aaron,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so
Aaron,
Aaron, Becky,
Wait.
or Wade, so three.
We
The
did.
same.
Yes.
okay, so that's for the, that's that now for, okay, everyone got. Do I vote? I think I voted last year, but I didn't know what I was doing.
All right, bye.
Okay, this is a private vote. You cannot talk to everyone about it.
Where did Annie go?
Plug it down. So for vice chair, then who's for vice chair?
Dave and Annie.
So Annie, you are going to do vice chair.
I know.
Yes, that's you.
I'm running against it.
That's right, there's two. So two.
Okay. No comment. And then it's Natalie for secretary. She's going on a post. Whether you vote for her or not.
Okay.
Okay, fold your ballot in half. We will announce the winners via email. Living evening. Thank you. Thank you.
What if we have a tie?
And we'll have a
Email vote.
I would donate. Yes.
If you're on the board, maybe.
Thank you.
Guys. So are we gonna get the
Well, there's the attendance going around.
Did it have? They have stuff, and I'm already inside there.
Yeah, we've been at this.
Well, I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna comment for something that I think that's what having not really got through. What kind of the approach to that, because I don't know. But I am. And I'm gonna be. We've done a lot.
Great, great here.
And I'm gonna shut it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one scary.
I don't know what it was like.
But yeah. No, I think and I. So anyway, but I.